I'm Antonio Calvo, and welcome to Calvo Motorsports. So I started Calvo Motorsports June of 2013. Most people don't know this. I was actually heavily into imports my whole life up until I started the shop. And even then, I started the shop as a fabrication shop, mainly on like Supras. We did RB stuff. I used to work on a RB Swap 240SX here in town all the time. So believe it or not, I know my import stuff. And I got into Vipers by accident. I broke the transmission in my Supra, and I was doing production work, like catch cans, power steering reservoirs, everything for Powerhouse Racing. And I was up there delivering some, and I got talking to Ross, and I was saying how I couldn't find Getrag parts for my transmission. He goes, "I have a brand new one upstairs." And I just started out, I really couldn't afford it. They were like $8,000 or $9,000 or something. And he goes, "I'll trade you paying for the material and the labor on this Gen 2 Viper turbo kit." And I said, done deal. So I took the car home with me that night, and I think a month later I had this twin 42R 7675 top mount, crazy looking drag thing. Ross and his son and Brian didn't own it yet. He was just working there. They put the car together. I think it was on an AEM Infinity. Very simple piston rod main cap engine. It was nothing, air-to-air intercooler, and the car's first pass was 770 at 186. It was a glide car, a manual valve body, just 2-speed, and then next thing I know, like 4 of them showed up, like, "Hey, we want our turbo kit to be, the problem with the Viper was all these companies would just take like the stock header, cut the flange off, twist it, try to tune it on the stock ECU. They were all buying parts from other shops. They couldn't really fabricate anything themselves for the majority of it. I always say Nth Moto was one of the first, even before us, I think, to really push that envelope and build a very high quality turbo kit, with traction control, sequential transmissions, boost by gear, boost by speed, and then we took all that knowledge already from the import world, because the domestic guys never really ran a standalone. Like Motec was always something like, or like now they're all in their Holley EF5s or Fuel Tech, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like everybody was just trying to tune cars on the stock ECUs, but you couldn't do that on a Supra or any Nissans. You had to have a standalone or some sort of piggyback to tune them, a Haltech or something. I think we evolved that way, and that's how we kind of came into where we are today. The Viper always had the stigmatism of being this torque monster that all these people wrecked on the way home from the dealer with all these stupid statistics that I don't think ever really have a statistic. And I'll drive a stock Gen 2. They make 400 horsepower. Like, the frames really haven't changed since 1996. The Gen 1s had they literally had tubes with bump stops on the bottom for the rear suspension. That's how rudimentary they were. But besides suspension angles and minor changes, the frames aren't much different from 1996 till now. Definitely from Gen 3, Gen 4 to Gen 5, if you take the bodies off and you didn't know what you were looking for, you probably couldn't tell. Like, they're so easy to make power with. Most of these cars have 9 liters. They hook really, really, really well. The ACR Aero helps, but even the non-ACR cars, we have a great Penske program that we worked with AJ Peterson, and The cars are they're not all over the place. Colin's traction control and on the Motec and his torque by gear is incredible. It really keeps the cars stable and straight. It's a combination of suspension, aero, tuning, and the chassis. The chassis itself, just off the bat, is awesome. You put a good tire on it, you don't have to put a 15. There's no Corvette that can do what these cars do. It's just not happening. It also helps that the drive shaft is this long. You know, you literally sit over the back tire almost. Are they going to keep up with all-wheel drive cars on the street? No. Like, it's not going to happen. We are coming close. I'm sure, as you know, you can't launch a clutch car on a radial. You'll just break everything in it. To put a skinny bias ply front and rear with a slick, I don't think a lot of these guys want to do it. So I have 2 or 3 customers that want to heavily go drag racing, and you know, we have one car that we're building with twin 98s on it right now, and then my old orange car that has a turbo 400 and 8685s. We're actually, in the next few weeks, after I'm taking a little 1-week trip after TX2K, and we're gonna get a little help from some drag race friends to try to get that car dialed to leave good. Take all that information and put it over to the next 2 cars that we're building that are, I mean, that one 98 car should make 4,500 horsepower to the tire. So we haven't used methanol yet on any car. It's all X98 or 1R. I want to say I crushed the Gen 5 Viper half-mile record back in 2018 with 2 cars. First pass off the trailer, 223, second pass, 225. Then I had my white 6-speed car, PPG 6-speed dog box on 19s all the way around, 220 second hit. We have the ACR record at 228 miles an hour in Greg's white car. And then I went 230 in Vance's green car. Drive chain has been our biggest issue. Slipping clutches, broken transmissions, this, that, and I think we're kind of getting into this sorted deal. You know, some people are saying put automatics in them, which I'm completely fine with. The only issue with the automatic is for half-mile stuff, you're just out of gear. You know, you're locked 1-to-1, so, and they don't want to cut the rear quarter panels, and with a 9.5 inch, your gear ratios are very limited. With an automatic, they're a force to be reckoned with on the drag strip. Look at Ned, he runs consistent low 7s. The Enthmoto Kratos car, that's a 690 car. Will Dugas's red and white stripe Gen 2 at 650s. So I mean, a 650, you can call them a street car, they're not. I mean, it's got an 850 cage in it, but like, it's still a full chassis car. It's nonetheless super impressive. You don't have 300 people, 400 people like you do with the GTRs or the Huracans, all sharing parts and information and this and that. You have like 10, you know? So it's a very small group of people that are wanting to do it, but I think like, as more and more people are doing it and getting more acclimated with the drag race stuff, you're gonna start seeing much faster cars. I'll tell you one thing, man, driving that orange car with an automatic in it is so smooth. Like, you drive it on this, it's like, bah, 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 you know, it's no jerkiness, no nothing. You know, we just need to what we really need to do is just get the car to a drag strip and test. We were testing in the back of the shop here, and Colin was getting in, you know, we need to get it up on the converter faster. And, you know, I was talking to my friend that's gonna be helping us. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, they're not gonna tell you this from the trans people, but they put different pills in it, so make sure that they didn't put too small of a pill. You can drill it out to bring it. We don't know that. We've never been drag racers. Or when I did drag race, it was a 6-speed Supra, you know, back in 2008. So, and that was a clutch car on bias plies, you know. So Mario from Motec Middle East, Mario Tuned, he was the one that set us up with Francesco and Italian Rods and Pistons. And then I met Herman at PRI, and we all became friends. But their quality, you can see it is just above and beyond everything I've used before. The rod strength, you know, I let them use some of the rods that we've used, like between Dyers and the Callies and everything, and their rods they're stronger. You can't like trick the number. The number is what it is for the hardness and stuff. You know, it's a great setup. We're gonna start running them in a lot of our cars now. It's over 2,400, 2,500 foot-pounds of torque, so. And it spins to 8,000 RPM, so you're sure you could do the math there. It's 3,500 plus to the tire. We just finished the car. I think once that car has its little tweaks, it's gonna be a very, very hard force to be reckoned with. It's getting our first billet block. We were trying to get the billet block finished for TX2K. It didn't happen, so in the next week or two, that motor will be coming out and the billet block will be going back in. We're going to be testing on that engine just a little bit more before we put the billet block in it. We learned some stuff. The turbos are very large, and they need a little nitrous to be spooled. 6,500 RPM, they start to build boost. Ryan was driving it, and even with the clutch slipping, he said that 202 felt so fast. And it was slipping like almost 20% the whole time. There were a few little issues. I think one of the actuators on the active wing was internally shorted, causing some issue. So we tried to unplug it and leave it planed. And every time we would make a pass, it'd come back, push down like 20 degrees. So I think that did that big of a deal for mile an hour. But I mean, when you're trying to go for every last mile an hour, I'm sure between the slip and clutch and that, we would have picked up 7-8 mile an hour. So I feel like that car lined out probably a 215, 220 car at TX2K. It's on a Motec M190. It's got Colin Murphy's Ninja firmware in it, Viper specific Gen 5 firmware. It's got dual Pro 16B drag M&Ws, E888 for like 10 EGTs, back pressure. We got back pressure, shaft speeds. Like it's a giant science project. It's got every part of data that you could ever want from a car. It's everything built and fabricated here. Mario designed the billet intake manifold for us. Same thing, it's got a 9.5-inch rear end with this custom billet housing. But yeah, tubular 5-to-1 manifold, billet collectors. It's got these massive, I think they're 6x6x12 dual intercoolers, air to water. It's water tank in the back. Completely tucked 12-point cage that you don't see underneath everything in the car. I don't know anything else you could do to it. I mean, we maxed the I/O out on an E888 and an M190. So, it's got every sort of suspension you could think of. Every bushing's been replaced. I don't think you can do anything more active aero. Straight cut, sequential. Drive chain's always been our issues with these cars. They produce so much torque, and just in general, anything making 3,500 horsepower, there's a curve. And like I was saying before, nobody wants to make 10 of something, like the GTR guys, the Lambo guys, Datsun's building thousands of gear sets, clutches, so they want to. Nobody wants to build 10, reinvent the wheel to build 10 or 15 of them, It's like the ones that never have issues, like we don't see them, so we never get to tear them down. And then like, the ones that do, it's usually something catastrophic, like, oh, wrong fuel, melted a piston, pushed it too hard, turbo, I've had a turbo come apart and hit me in the arm. So, yeah, right. Once we get that 35 to 4,000 reliable and the drivetrain issues resolved, I think you're gonna start seeing more and more of these cars pop up, because power's never been our issue. We make power no problem. It's always keeping the drivetrain happy. We're gonna be taking a tour of the shop now and showing you guys what we got here. Shop's a little bit of a mess. We just got back from TX2K. We're kind of still putting stuff away, cleaning up, unloading, and then trying to get all the cars that just need some service work after the race out. This is our waiting area. My wife and her sister kind of redid everything for us. And then this is our art piece here. It's a buddy of mine. He bought a McLaren Elva. There's 180 of them built. I am fortunate enough that he does not want to import it into his country, so it sits here and looks really good. It's a great topic of conversation. There is no windshield, there is no roof. That's what it is. So it's about a $2 million, I guess, showpiece artwork in my shop that my buddy pays for, and I get to talk about it. So it is actually one of my I'm not a big McLaren fan. I think this one has the best interior out of all of them. I've driven it once around the block. It was completely useless and hurt my eyes. So that's my extent of everything with it. And then we'll come through here. So these are our fab area, fabrication lifts here. Hector, all the guys are out to lunch, but as you can see here, this is a McLaren 720. It has sleeves, pistons, rods, fire rings, all ARP hardware, built engine. We did everything ourselves here. We're doing massive 2,000 horsepower air-to-water intercoolers. You can see here tubular manifolds built here by Hector. It uses a 105/69S Zona. We use Zona rotors on pretty much 90% of our builds. They're awesome little 35R compact cover. They have everything up to a 76 millimeter in a 35R, so it works out really well. Like our 1800X cars get the 115 69Ss and everything else. Those are what you used to call a Super 99. It's a 105 69S, so 72 millimeter compressor with a 69 millimeter turbine wheel, clipped turbine wheel. The old clipped. So this is one of the Voodoos being built. Basically, this is the Fab Lifts. We go back and forth. These two cars are called Voodoos. They're, I think, 31 of them built. They just have a little stripe with some thingies on them, and they're called that. These are the cars getting serviced after TX2K. That guy is done. It just needs to be detailed, and it's going back to the owner. Kyle's first race. He did awesome. He got eliminated. He lost the hit to an Nth Moto car. But first time out, you know, he made 2 rounds, I think, so it's pretty cool. This is Danny P's car. Danny, unfortunately, had a loss in his family, so he had to go back to Korea and couldn't be there. We had the car there for him. Some of his friends were there. We took him for rides and stuff. We're going to be putting some Penske's on it, our billet intake manifold, and sending that back to him. Back there is my old orange car. The last few days have been like terrible with pollen. So literally everything in my house and life is covered in pollen. But yeah, Turbo 400, twin 8685 Precisions, makes about 2800 before spray. 15-inch conversion, everything. So we will be trying to get this car to the drag strip within the next month. Like I said, I'm gonna go take a week off and enjoy my family and my wife. This is our room of death. Basically, what the Vipers like to do is crunch anything drivetrain wise. So these are all parts. This is Jaime's hole where we build, he builds all the sequentials. We do it all here in house. At one point we were like PPG's largest distributor here in the United States. Billet front plates, billet mid cases. This is Ryan Lewikowski, also known as Mick Rippins. He just wanted to, we pulled his transmission out to bring it as a spare to TX2K, and he said, hey, while it's out of my car, just go through it real quick for me. We noticed, thank God we did, we noticed a little dowel was coming out of the barrel. So he's going to the half mile this weekend in Hondo, shift sector. And then we will, yeah, this is broken gear sets, broken. It's like, what spare parts do we need? Check that box in the middle of the night for stuff. Spare 9-inch chunks there. And then this is Ryan's car here. If you want to take a look at how everything's ran and everything fully dry sumped. This has twin G42 1450s on it. Back pressure sensors, shaft speed sensors, you know, daily dry sump, the works on everything. We use Turbo Smart on everything. Kind of one of our big dogs. It made 1450 to the tire. So it's a fast car. It's
that
fun.
Sounds like a pretty low number for this shop.
I'm not 1450, 2450. Sorry, there's $1,000 off. This is my personal car. I brought it here during TX2K because Tommy Lucas, I sell him a lot of parts. Real famous tattoo artist. He brought his car here to get tuned, and Collins firmware did not accept the AEM LTCs. So he had Bosch sensors and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go grab my car and I'll give you the LTC out of my car. It was brand new anyway. So we are putting a new LTC on my car with NTK sensors, NTK LTC, since they're finally off back order on Motec. Here's more stuff we just stacked out of everywhere. When we were trying to get to TX2K, but this is our dyno room. Our dyno comes from Australia. It's a Pro Hub 6000 or 6000 Pro Hub, yeah, Pro Hub 6000 mainline. I had Todd set it up. You know, he logged into TeamViewer, set it up, and whatever the settings are the settings. I'm like, and this is what we base everything off of. We use it as a tool to tune the car. So like the numbers, the customers care more about the numbers than anything. We just want to make sure the cars run right, do everything. What they are on the street is, you know, track numbers and, you know, half mile, quarter mile times, give you the most of everything. This is our little setup here. These fans suck probably enough air per fan for a small apartment building. So it turns into a giant wind tunnel in here. And then we'll show you some stuff. We're moving stuff around, so we got a bunch of stuff outside today, and just more cars than usual here because of TX2K. The cars came back and getting serviced. Like I said, the pollen has been absolutely terrible. But yeah, There's Vance's car. Kyle is his son with the white car. This car made 3320 to the tires. This car is on an old M800. It's here just for a bunch of little wiring stuff and retune it. This is actually my good friend Abe's car. He had a rat chew a wire, so the car wouldn't start on the cam sensor, so we fixed that. He can come pick it up and get it out of here today. That's a car that I just need a nice dry day in Austin, and I can go test drive it for 15 minutes and we could ship it. This is another car, a 1300X package, Donnie from D&D. He's getting another set of Italian RPs in there. It's gonna be our street. We call it the CMX, it's CM 1300. The part number on the Italian RP is CMX 1300. So, and then if you come this way.
Whoa. It's a Honda Civic here.
That is Hector's, and he loves that Honda. Him and Jaime are the Honda guys. They love their Hondas.
You have a Hector that works here who owns a Honda.
Yes, I do.
You realize?
I know. I know. This is actually a friend of mine, Pavli from Australia. Yes, it's covered in pollen like everything else, and it shows.
Australia.
Yeah, so that car, he used to come here like 2018, 2019, right before COVID hit. He'd come for the events, come hang out 3 times a year, party, hang out, crash at my house, and then COVID hit, and you guys were on like ultimate lockdown. So he stopped coming, and I guess he's moving. He's originally from Greece, and moved back to Greece and said just put the car back. We were doing some big crazy build on it, and he said stop and just put it back to the way it was. So the next few weeks we'll be wrapping that car up, get it out of here. Fabricio's car, we're just repairing the transmission in it and turn it back down, send it to him in Miami so he can go to happy hour with it a lot.
Just a random Lambo?
We're getting, it's next week we're gonna start on the twin turbo kit on it, installing it. So we're waiting on a Motec. We're gonna tune it on the stock ECU, make like 850 wheel, just let him have it, he's got a Viper done by us too, NA 9-liter car. But I'm sure he's gonna love that. It's step it and go. He's a big dude, and he said that actually driving his Viper hurts his leg. He hurt his leg a while ago. This is Zach's car. 1800X, makes 1950 wheel. The last time we saw it was TX2K last year. So he said he just wants everything gone through, change the fluids, just, do the once a year checkup on it, and hopefully it'll be gone by early next week. The blue Porsche is kind of like my little nightmare child right now. It's got some quirk. It'll be fine for like a few days and then just wants to go into limp mode. And I was with TX2K, we got too busy to like actually spend some time diagnosing it. Tomorrow, it's supposed to be a nice day out with no rain, so I want to try to work with Mitch and just get it lined out and get it out of here. Both Abe's car and this car are from San Antonio. Maybe he can pick them up both at the same time.